right, gang, welcome to another Wake Up Humans podcast. And I'm going to bring someone who's become a close friend to us. She's been a CA with Life Family Chiropractic, our other offices. She's part of the one in Farmington, but she's working on a bigger scale with all the offices. And essentially, what came off of this is she came to DE, came back fired up, and has put together a program that she's working with the CAs now and really excited about it. And I thought it would be an amazing thing to bring. So today will be an introduction, and then we're going to probably do a couple episodes explaining what it is she's doing. Welcome to the podcast, Kathy Campbell.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
You know, it's just everything about you is just happy. You're like a butterfly. You're just fired up, happy, bring joy, excited. But let's talk about, you have an amazing background, and then, now you're working with us, and it's just, I could see you doing amazing things. Why don't you give a little bit of your background and who you are?
Sure. So I've been with Life Family Chiropractic now a year. Prior to that, I was doing occupational therapy. I was working with children with special needs, children with autism, sensory processing disorder. I also worked with adult population with visual dysfunction, people coming back from concussions, vestibular rehab. So I've been in that world for about 16, 17 years. So this is a big step away from what I'm normally used to, moving into the position I'm in with Life Family Chiropractic. So it was definitely a huge jump for me. But even within that, it was about being with people and connecting and letting people know that there's something greater for them if they want it. And that's kind of where I always was doing work, is letting people see their biggest potential, their greatest potential in their life in that moment, and then carrying that out into the world and being able to just do more. Like, what do you want? What's at the root of everything that's going on? Where do you want to go with your life? And it just kind of transformed into the role that we're in now. I've got this beautiful connection with people coming through the door in a different way. I also teach yoga. So I've been practicing yoga for, I don't know, probably 20 years and teaching since 2014. And that's been huge for me personally, from a growth standpoint, spiritual standpoint, my community. I love community. I love connection. And that's what it does for me. And being on the mat, whether it's teaching or practicing on my own, sharing space with people and energy, it just is very uplifting. It roots me, it grounds me. If I'm having a rough day, I know, get in there, get on the mat, breathe, and just kind of regroup. So I kind of try to carry that into everything I do, whether it's work, being with friends, at work, like sharing my experience to people. I meet people, I'm like, oh, you got to try yoga, you got to do this. And when I met you, Steve, I was like, you're a yogi, and I don't think you know that, but it's not the practice itself, it's the feeling and what you're doing and the mission and how you live your life.
Yeah. So
yeah.
Why don't we share that principle with people? Is when you say those words, it's profound, but some people may say, well, what does that mean? Like, what do you mean by that? Like, what is that walk in life that that you see in people, that they're walking, like that yogi lifestyle? What is
Yeah.
that?
It is. So yogic lifestyle truly is full of love, full of acceptance.
Yeah.
I'm not like a hippy dippy kind of yogi. I'm also a very real person. So,
Yeah.
I can look at the world and see what's going on in the world, what's going on in people's lives, and appreciate that, the good, the bad, the ugly. But it's centering people who are centered,
Yep.
sure of themselves, feel rooted. One of the biggest things in practice of yoga is the chakras, so energy centers, and there's 7 of them that we focus on, and one of them is the root chakra, and that's like starting from the ground up and rooted in your family, rooted in your community, rooted in yourself, because in this world where, like you and I've always been a giver, I'm always servicing people or helping people, that helping profession. If you aren't grounded and rooted, how can you do that? How can you help people?
Right.
So people who are in this kind of yogic lifestyle or walking around, it's love, it's acceptance, but it's also getting honest with people, sharing ideas, being able to collaborate, and just getting away from all the outside distraction, because it can pull us in so many different directions and it's a downward spiral often for many people. But living a life that's healthy in relationships, with yourself, with other people, with your food, relationships with your food, relationships with your time management. How are you accountable to yourself, and are you respecting other people's time? That's a big one for me. I have, and I think it's for you too. I think that if I'm giving someone my time, I know that their time is precious, right? So everybody's time, we only have an infinite amount of time, or a finite amount of time. So if someone's coming to one of my classes, for example, coming to yoga, I greet everybody, we get right into it, and we end on time, because I know it's 60 minutes. People have lives, and they're there for me, showing up for me. I'm showing up for them, and I'm going to give them my all, my energy. I've got to leave stuff at the door. So it's important that I have to get there prior to class starting, people coming in, so that I can center myself. So they're getting all of me, because it would be very unfair if they're only getting parts of me.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. Now you said something pretty profound in there, is about getting honest. And I know for me personally, it's I can be brutally honest with people, which is why I don't say anything unless they ask me. And I've gotten to the point in my life, people know when they're going to ask me, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. It's just I'm going to be brutally honest. And one of the quotes I'm known for is, sometimes love is a left hook. And I
Yeah.
feel kind of like you saying that you're speaking to this, because, I know coming back from DE, you've started an accountability group with people, which I believe part of it is the getting honest with people. And I know you love dogs, so don't worry about the dogs barking. I think that's beautiful. They're
Thank
like
you.
part of the loves of your life. So I think that's beautiful.
My babies.
But when you say to help them get honest, I mean, I think I know what you're saying, but how can you speak that to the audience?
So getting honest for me, first came to get honest with myself. I found yoga on a deeper level when I was in my early 30s, I would say. I'm just gonna scooch because there's road work now going on. So in my early 30s, I started to get really deeply connected with it. I just needed to find something for myself. And I thought that I was feeling a little lost in my life. I mean, we grow, we change, and I needed to find something that was for me. So that being said, when I found that, it was imperative that I connected with myself, because it was for me. I signed up for training. I did not want to teach. I just wanted to go and experience this. And I loved it. I got vulnerable. I was in a group of like 20 people, and we were close. It was a year-long training. So I had to get honest. I had to get honest for myself. I had to get honest for the people I was sharing energy and space with, because I wanted to grow. So I'm in this, and now I'm in this state of such a growth mindset, that I want to continue to grow. I want to grow professionally. I want to grow personally. And I want people around me to be able to do the same thing.
Right.
And I feel that people can do it.
Yeah.
But not everybody is in the same place, right? So
well, let me stop you there. Let me ask you this. So you started essentially at 30 years old, correct?
Yeah, getting serious. Yeah.
That's usually where people start getting serious, is around 30 years old, right? Life takes on a different meaning. But that tells me that what was life like before 30, that essentially you woke up at 30 and said, okay, like now you said, you were working with people, you became a student of yoga, and you were vulnerable. And I think that's what to me, Wake Up Humans is all about, is allowing people a space to be vulnerable and let them know that's okay. We don't have to all be tough guys and girls all the time and put up a front and fake it. Because you see people that you think they have the perfect life, and then you read about them committing suicide. And that breaks my heart, because I'm like, they weren't given a space to heal from whatever was hiding inside of them. And I think that's that vulnerable piece we talk about.
That's huge. And that vulnerability, a lot of people see it as a weakness. If I'm not the tough person, if I'm not the one lifting everybody up, but when do you get to kind of break down and like dismantle, or as you guys say, shedding the husks, like when do you get to dismantle and really dive in and look at your life and say, okay, well, why do I feel this way about this thing, or why am I feeling unsettled? And you're right, probably 30s is probably a time where people are moving away from kind of a child like way, a risky kind of life, and not so serious, to wanting more. At least for me, I was wanting something more for myself, so that I can give more.
Right.
I love to give myself to people in the fullest way. So my circle of people, like my circle of friends, I'm friendly with a lot of people.
Yeah,
but
I get
my
it.
friends, they get all of me. They get all of me, and I get all of them.
Yeah.
We call each other out on stuff. Like you, it's honesty is huge.
Right.
And if you want me to be a part of your life and you're asking me questions or you're sharing stuff with me, I'm going to be compassionate, and I'm going to be there with you when you're having a rough day. If you're having a rough day, I'm going to feel that, because I'm not going to judge you for it. But if there's things that are getting in the way and it's a constant pattern or cycle, I'm going to try to help you and at least say, have you looked at this? Why is this happening?
Right.
Because I do it for myself.
Well, and that's why essentially you put the group together after DE, right?
Yes.
So what was the motivation with that? Now, what's your outcome and what are you doing?
Yeah. So the group after DE, I was just pumped up. I was like, okay, I've always wanted to do some kind of life coaching empowerment group. And I do that somewhat with yoga, but I wanted to do it on a different scale, and also get to know the women that I'm working with. We got to spend a lot of time together that weekend. So I just wanted to throw it out there, and I was like, hey, what the heck? I'm just going to do this. And with the blessing of you and Mike, I was like, all right, let's go for it. So we started an intentional living group, and it was a 6-week program. And what intentional living really means is paying attention, showing up for yourself, number one, and then showing up for other people. And then for us, it was showing up for each other in the group. So each week we had a different focus, a different focus to really pay attention to, whether it was what you're doing with your free time, screen time, who are you following on like social media, how is it feeding your soul, how is it feeding your brain, can you start to really pay attention to that, move away from it, because it affects you on every level. What are you doing in the morning? What's your routine? Morning routines, we know this, it's scientifically proven, are like huge. If you are waking up, rolling out of bed, throwing clothes on, just moving through the motions, your day is you're just moving through it to get to the next one. And that's fine. If that's what people want to do, that's totally fine. A lot of the world does
that sucks. That sucks. That's horrible.
It does suck. I mean, but like people have to want more. Like, do you want, is that what you want? Like, is that what you want? Are you happy with that? I can't imagine that you're happy with that. You might be okay with it. It's easy.
But they're accepting mediocrity. It's like it's like, and then they're sad and depressed and want to tell everybody how sad and depressed, and well, they're endorsing that lifestyle. They're helping create that. instead of saying, all right, enough's enough. Because I think the problem is why they don't, what I'm learning from people working with them,
Yeah.
why they don't make that step forward is now they're becoming vulnerable. Now they become exposed to themselves, and they've been programmed to bury their emotions, to bury their feelings, and put an image of themselves as they're somebody else. And
Right.
I could look at someone in the eyes and look at their posture and everything, be like, you're living a lie, right?
Yeah.
And if you allow yourself to become vulnerable, your entire life could change. And getting around people like you who now create that healthy, safe space for them, and a space where they could cry, a space where they could laugh, a space where they could be honest,
Right.
and let their vulnerability out, and then expose it. It's kind of like what the backpack is all about: is put it out there and say, okay, now how am I gonna adapt to this? You're never gonna get rid of it. You're never gonna. It's the memories are always gonna be there, but to be able to levitate at another level and raise your standard for your lifestyle. And I think that's why God creates people like you, that you have this it's not an educated thought process. You feeling it, like you're a
Mm-hmm.
feeler, that you want to help and serve more people at a higher level, which is what this is all about.
Definitely. I have a lot of, I guess you people call it intuition.
Yep.
And I felt that from a really young age. And I was an athlete, and I was always, stepping in. I was always a leader. Um, and I like that, because I feel like if I have something to say, I have something to share. It would be a disservice to people not to hear it. A lot of it's not my own. I love to share podcasts. If I hear something, I get so like, oh, I'm like, yeah, everyone should listen to this. This is so awesome. Yeah. And within that group that we were doing, we moved through 6 weeks, and again, people are all at different spaces and walks in their life. And my intent wasn't for everybody to come out with the same outcome, but just to become more aware of how you're feeling. Are you checking in with yourself? And that morning piece is huge. I mean, living a good life, it's not easy, right? You have to work for it. You have to make it a good life. People who think, oh God, look at, they're traveling here and they're doing this and they're doing that, and they look happy all the time. Well, it takes work, and sometimes the work can get really messy. So, changing relationships, that's a huge one. Look at the people that you surround yourself with. And if that's not healthy, something needs to give. Cut ties with people, move in a different direction. And I'm big on, if I'm not learning and growing, then I've stopped living. If I think I've got it figured out, well, then I'm in big trouble, because I haven't. And I am constantly, I almost am obsessed with growth a little bit. Like I want growth. I want more. Not in the way of like, I've got to be this person. I've got to be the one. I want it because I want to learn about myself in every year that I get on this life, on this planet, with this life, this person. I want to get the most I can get, and I want people to get the most they can get from me. So this group has been really cool. We're shifting into more of a monthly kind of program, and we're going to be reading some really good books. We're going to be listening to some great podcasts, but checking in. And we've had some tears, we've laughed, we've cried a little bit. I think people, including myself, because I'm right there with everybody doing it, you check yourself and you're like, yeah, I didn't need to get up. I could sleep in this morning, but no, I'm going to get my butt to the gym, got my morning routine. Because if I go off my morning routine, it just makes for a shitty day. It does,
doesn't it?
It does. And then you're rushing all the time. And then you go to sleep and then you just do it again. And I don't want to live like that.
Yeah. It's like being on that gerbil wheel.
Yeah.
It's just nonstop, and people just burn out. And
I teach a Friday morning class. This is interesting. So I have taught yoga now since, 2014. And I've had classes, and a really home studio that I taught in was power yoga. And things have shifted over the years. We weren't able to practice for a long time. We did online, outside. And then when I took the role with you guys at Life Family Chiropractic, I was like, all right, I need to change. I gotta teach somewhere different. I'm teaching at Health Tracks. It's a gym.
Yeah.
So teaching at Health Tracks, and it's an older population. And I'm like, oh gosh, I teach power yoga. But that doesn't mean anything, right? I'm teaching people to connect to their body, to connect to their breathing, teaching people how to breathe, to show up, to do their best, to feel what's going on, to let stuff come up physically, mentally, emotionally, and not to ignore it, but to be with it. You have 60 minutes. I'm giving you 60 minutes. We're here together. Be with the stuff that comes up. Yeah, you're going to get stronger in the process physically, but you're going to get stronger mentally, emotionally. You know, these people, average age 70, they are diehards. I get a group 20 to 25 people every Friday. It's like my core people. It has been the most beautiful place I've ever taught. I never thought I'd teach at a gym. It has been a growth process for me teaching. I've changed the way I teach. I have teachers on, in Texas that I use online. I've got teachers here, and because if I'm growing, that means other people are growing. And
Right.
if the people that are around me are growing and getting filled with all this like love and empowerment, that's only going to bring good stuff to the world, and we need good stuff.
Yeah, we need more of that for sure.
We do. We do.
That's awesome. Well, I think what I'd like to see happen is, and you and I have spoken about this, is, what this program could look like moving forward. You go from the 6-week to now a monthly check-in, and we could do future conversations like this where we talk about, when you mentioned the morning routine, we could talk about the spiritual connection and the yoga and moving the body and different ways to achieve that. What it means to be vulnerable, and like what are you finding in people that's vulnerable, and how can they adapt and heal and move forward with that? I think those would be great conversations for people, and I think this speaks to everybody. I mean, I think one of the things, a lot of men need to listen to this, and it's because I know a lot of the self work I did, and I come across sometimes as kind of a gruff guy, but I'm not. Like I could be, people, like, they get to know me. They're like, wow, you're not as like gruff as I thought. You're kind of a teddy bear. And I'm like, well, that took a lot of work, and it took getting sensitive, took getting vulnerable, which is not how I was raised. But in order to become the man I wanted to be, I had to surround myself with people like that would teach me this. And that's one of the biggest things that DE's done for me. And that's the mission now, is to bring it outside of DE, to bring it to people, because especially what we've seen happening in the world and all the divide and anger is just, it's what hurt people hurt other people. And if we can help people heal, then we're going to have better outcomes. People would just be happier. And you got 25 people showing up, and just the words you're using, like, this is not just about doing a stretch, but it's deeper than that, and experiencing it. That language is huge. So kudos to you. That's awesome. You're doing that.
Thank you.
So thank you for taking the time. And I think it's very important. I think people need to hear your voice. Like, what was your sport? You said you were an athlete?
Yeah, I was volleyball, softball, basketball, but softball and volleyball were my big ones. Softball was my top one.
Where'd you grow up?
Burlington. So I went to Lewis Mills.
That's where my daughter Brooke's best friend goes. And it's funny, really? You say volleyball. None of my kids have ever been exposed to volleyball. And that Jamie, my youngest now, she's, living in Florida. Volleyball is huge there. And she walks around the house with a volleyball, bouncing it off walls, just loves it.
Oh, it's awesome.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Cool. Yeah.
Awesome.
It's really cool. Yeah.
Well, all right, Kathy, I appreciate your time, and there's going to be more of this. We'll plan it out, and we'll work it for the people, because I know my innate tells me your voice absolutely needs to be heard, and you're going to help hundreds of thousands of people. So thank you, and I appreciate you, kiddo.
Thank you, Steve. I'm so psyched for this. Thank you so much.
Blessed.